For 4 years, I'd been immersed in the company, witnessing a myriad of projects ebb and flow, clients with ever-increasing demands, and the typical office theatrics that accompany any corporate setting. Yet, nothing had ever unsettled me quite like the occurrences of that particular day. The moment I revealed my emotions for my superior spouse. It began like any ordinary day. The office exuded a serene atmosphere, with the gentle hum of printers and hushed conversations weaving through the space. After wrapping up a meeting with some colleagues, I was making my way back to my desk when I spotted her, Olivia. She lingered in the corner of the hallway, engaged in a phone conversation, exuding her usual grace and beauty. Her hair cascaded in gentle waves around her shoulders, exuding an undeniable aura of confidence that captivated everyone around her. Her presence had an undeniable quality that drew attention away from everything else in the room. Olivia, at the age of 35, was married to Andrew, who happened to be my boss. She embodied all that one could desire: intellect, strength, and elegance. In every conversation I had with her, she radiated a sense of tranquility and grace that only enhanced her allure. She was not merely beautiful, she embodied all that I held in high regard. I had always convinced myself that my emotions for her mustn't interfere with my professional aspirations. Ultimately, she was bound by vows, making her unattainable. Yet, the reality is that with each encounter, those emotions deepened. For months, it had been this way, collaborating with her, encountering her in meetings, assisting her on projects, all while striving to keep a professional distance, yet quietly admiring her from a distance. Yet, there arrived a moment when I could no longer maintain the facade. I could no longer dismiss my emotions. It was more than mere admiration. It was an underlying truth, a feeling I could no longer ignore. That afternoon, I wandered through the hallway, making my way back to my desk. Engrossed in my musings, I caught sight of Olivia alone, a solitary figure in the midst of it all. Her back was turned as she wrapped up her phone call, leaving me in a moment of contemplation. Should I continue on my way, feigning normalcy, or was it finally time to speak up? Every logical thought in my mind urged me to turn and leave. Yet, as I lingered in that moment, it became increasingly clear that I was unable to do so. That's no longer the case. Before I had a chance to reconsider, the words tumbled out, "I like you, Olivia." I exclaimed, catching myself off guard. She pivoted gradually, her expression a blend of astonishment and intrigue. Her eyes widened slightly, and for a moment, a tense silence hung between us, stretching out like an infinite pause in time. She remained silent for a moment, her gaze fixed on me as she absorbed my words. My heart raced within me, and I sensed the dampness of sweat forming on my palms. I realize this may seem unbelievable, I went on, attempting to regain my composure after the surprise of my own admission. It's been lingering in my thoughts for quite some time, I can no longer brush it aside. You occupy my thoughts constantly, and I can't help but feel something special for you. As the words tumbled out, I found it hard to grasp the reality of what I was expressing. Silence enveloped the office like a thick fog. I remained in place, anticipating her words, hoping for a response, yet silence enveloped us. She remained calm, didn't call me out for my behavior, and didn't respond as I had anticipated. Instead, she merely nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on mine without wavering. Her expression was neutral, there was no smile, no frown, and no hint of disdain in her gaze. She simply absorbed the words. Her silence resonated with a weight that overshadowed any words she might have uttered. In an instant, she pivoted and strode off into the distance. I remained motionless, my thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. What just transpired? Had I completely shattered everything? Was I on the verge of losing my job? What was the significance of her silence? Did she share those feelings? Was I simply being naive? I found myself without any answers. All I understood was that I had exposed myself to the unknown, and now I was left in a state of anticipation, uncertain of what lay ahead. The office seemed more desolate than before, despite the surrounding clamor remaining constant. I attempted to navigate the remainder of my day as usual, responding to emails and participating in meetings, yet my mind kept drifting back to that moment. Her expression, her stillness, her reaction, or the absence of one. What was going through her mind when I shared my feelings with her? Was there any emotion she held for me? Did she experience the same inner turmoil that I did? Or was I merely another individual who had overstepped a boundary and would soon fade into obscurity? The day drew to a close, yet my thoughts continued to whirl ceaselessly. I was uncertain about what lay ahead, yet there was one truth I held firmly in my mind. This was not the conclusion. What was unfolding between us was merely the beginning. The following days dragged on painfully. Whenever I caught sight of Olivia in the office, a tight knot would form in my stomach. It felt as though we had both entered a peculiar state of suspension, with neither of us completely recognizing the events that had unfolded between us. She remained unchanged, the self-assured, stunning, graceful woman I had looked up to for so long. Yet, there was an unmistakable shift in the air. A palpable change enveloped us each time our paths intertwined, an undeniable tension that lingered in the atmosphere. It wasn't only I who observed it. My co-workers, the ones who typically shared jokes and laughter during our coffee breaks, appeared to sense the shift too. A palpable tension lingered in the air, an unspoken awareness that something was amiss, yet silence reigned as no one summoned the courage to address it. It seems the silent agreement among colleagues was to simply ignore any moments of discomfort that arose. Yet, I found it impossible to feign. The reality of having expressed my feelings weighed heavily on me, and now I was left to confront the outcomes, whatever they may entail. The initial moment I laid eyes on her, following the revelation, was at a gathering with our team. The strategy session unfolded like any other, yet it carried an unmistakable air of the extraordinary. I found it difficult to focus on the subject matter before me. My thoughts continually wandered back to that instant, the expression in Olivia's eyes when I revealed everything to her. I stole a look at her from across the table, making an effort to mask my anxiety, yet it was clear she was attempting to do the same. Her gaze darted in my direction, and for an instant, our eyes met with an intensity that felt electric. It was fleeting, yet sufficient to ignite a surge of excitement within me. Was she contemplating it as well? Did she feel remorse for her decision? Or had she transcended it already? She swiftly averted her gaze, her expression reverting to its customary, polished demeanor. I found myself pondering whether she was still mulling over my words or simply attempting to sidestep the discomfort of the moment. In any case, it was evident that neither of us knew how to proceed from here. Later that afternoon, I found myself in the break room, pouring a cup of coffee to calm my racing thoughts. At that moment, she entered the room. Olivia. She appeared breathtaking, her golden locks flowing gracefully over her shoulder, her tailored suit highlighting her silhouette. Her lack of immediate acknowledgement heightened the tension in the air. I pivoted, striving to maintain my poise. Olivia. I spoke, my voice coming out harsher than I meant it to. She hesitated briefly, then offered a subtle nod, her gaze resting on me for a heartbeat before she began to speak. Tom. Once more, there was the separation, the composed detachment she typically upheld. The confession seemed to fade into oblivion, as if it had never occurred at all. I wish to express my sincerest apologies for what transpired the other day. I spoke without thinking, the words escaping me before I had a chance to hold them back. I never intended to create any awkwardness. I simply can't explain what overtook me. She allowed me to finish without interruption. She remained motionless, her eyes unwavering yet inscrutable. After a lengthy silence, she at last found her voice. Olivia spoke softly, urging, no need to apologize. It was simply unforeseen, that term lingered in the atmosphere surrounding us. She hadn't dismissed me completely, but she hadn't exactly embraced it either. It felt like she was still grappling with my words, uncertain of their implications for us both. I was uncertain about what to anticipate. I pressed on, each word amplifying my discomfort. I simply had to express it. I could no longer contain it within me. She offered a slight nod, her lips forming a narrow line. Comprehend, yet Tom. She hesitated, inhaling deeply as though she was considering her words with great deliberation. This must not interfere with our efforts. We each carry our own duties in this place. This, whatever it may be, cannot obstruct the path ahead. Her words pierced through me, yet I recognized the truth in them. This setting was one of professionalism, and I had overstepped a boundary. I had placed her in a difficult situation, and it was essential for me to honor that. I understand, I replied, striving to maintain a calm tone. I assure you it won't have any impact. I simply had to be truthful with you. She hesitated, her gaze lingering with a hint of warmth before she turned and exited the break room. With a gentle click, the door shut softly behind her. I stood there, a mix of relief washing over me, yet confusion clouding my thoughts more than ever before. What just transpired? Did she truly hear me? Was there any sensation within her? Or was this merely a courteous method of dismissing me? The remainder of the day was consumed by an effort to concentrate on my tasks, yet the lingering thoughts of her words and their implications refused to leave my mind. Could this be the conclusion? Or could this be merely the onset of something far more intricate? The atmosphere between us was charged, and I couldn't ignore that a change had occurred. We found ourselves treading a delicate path, uncertain of what the next move might entail. And beneath the surface, I was certain of one thing. Returning to the past is no longer an option for us. No matter what unfolded afterward, it was bound to be complicated. Yet, I found myself pondering, was the gamble truly justified? As the days went by, the tension between Olivia and me lingered, refusing to fade away. Indeed, it only intensified. It felt as though we were ensnared in an unspoken pact. Neither of us ready to openly confront what had transpired, yet both of us sensing the heaviness of it each time our paths intersected. At work, everything seemed to be just as it should be on the surface. Correspondence flowed, gatherings were participated in, timelines were adhered to. Yet, beneath the surface, there lingered a subtle tension, an unarticulated presence that neither of us could overlook. I was striving to maintain a sense of professionalism, yet each glance at Olivia stirred a deep longing within me. She remained unchanged, just as she had always been. Elegant, poised, and exuding an air of invincibility. Yet, there was a spark in her gaze that piqued my curiosity. Had I committed an act that could never be undone? Had I shattered the bond we had forged as co-workers? Then, one evening after work, everything transformed. On that Friday, the office was nearly empty, having emptied out ahead of schedule. The majority had departed for the weekend, rendering the building serene and desolate. As I wrapped up some final tasks, a message from Olivia popped up on my screen. Could we rendezvous in the parking garage? I would like to have a conversation with you. My heart raced with excitement. The icy, detached demeanor she had upheld throughout the week vanished in a heartbeat. I was uncertain about what lay ahead, yet I moved forward without a moment's pause. With a decisive click, I shut my laptop, slipped on my jacket, and made my way to the parking garage. Upon my arrival, I found Olivia positioned by her car, her back turned towards me. There was something about her appearance that seemed altered. Somewhat at ease, perhaps with a hint of anxiety. Uncertainty loomed over me regarding her arrival, yet the gravity of the situation was unmistakable. "Is that you, Olivia?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. She turned to face me, and for a fleeting moment, silence enveloped us both. The stillness enveloped the room, heavy with the burden of unspoken thoughts. At last, she uttered a sound, her voice soft and almost inaudible. "Your words have been on my mind, and I find it hard to shake them off." My heart raced. This was the moment I had both feared and longed for simultaneously. "Could you clarify what you mean?" I inquired, making an effort to maintain a calm tone. She inhaled deeply, as though collecting her reflections. "I'm feeling quite lost, Tom. This is far more than a fleeting crush. For years, I've shared my life with Andrew, yet there has always been a sense that something essential was absent. When you shared your feelings with me, it felt as though a hidden door swung wide open, revealing a space I never realized existed. It was hard to wrap my mind around the words being spoken. Olivia, the woman I had long admired from a distance, was revealing that she felt something for me as well. However, I found it impossible to overlook the truth of the circumstances. She had entered into matrimony. She possessed a life, a family, an entire universe that excluded my presence. What do you mean? I inquired, my voice quivering just a bit. She gazed at me intently, her eyes probing into mine. I'm not quite sure what this is, Tom, but I can't overlook it any longer. I find myself uncertain about the implications this holds for my journey. For our benefit. However, I cannot simply act as if it never occurred. The words lingered in the atmosphere, and I sensed a constriction in my chest. Could this truly be unfolding? Could it be that she genuinely wanted to delve into this with me? Despite the overwhelming sense that it was a dreadful choice, Olivia moved a step nearer to me. This is something I prefer to keep to myself. I must keep it under wraps. However, I must understand if your feelings align with mine. If you choose not to, we part ways here and now, and I will never mention it again. Yet, if you choose to, she hesitated, and I noticed the doubt reflected in her gaze. Should you choose to proceed, we will approach this gradually. I acted without a moment's pause. I was unable to. This was my opportunity, and I was determined not to let it pass me by. Text, I share that sentiment, I replied, my tone steady, even as a whirlwind of feelings churned within me. Olivia's expression relaxed, and for the first time since our dialogue had started, a faint smile played at the edges of her mouth. It was a smile that conveyed both relief and a hint of doubt. We'll keep it a secret, she whispered, her voice barely rising above a murmur. At this moment. And we shall observe the unfolding journey ahead. This is just for us to keep to ourselves. I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. This was occurring. We found ourselves in a situation, stepping over a boundary that was forever beyond our reach. For the first time in ages, I sensed that I was truly steering my own destiny. In the muted glow of the parking garage, we lingered, the gravity of our choice pressing down upon us. It was absolutely wild. The stakes were high. It was likely the most regrettable choice I had ever made in my life. Yet, I found it impossible to muster any concern. Having embarked on this journey, I found myself at a point of no return. A few weeks had passed since Olivia and I reached that decision. We exercised caution, ensuring that no hints of what was unfolding between us ever surfaced. Our exchanges in the workplace remained entirely formal, as though nothing had shifted. Yet, whenever we found ourselves in solitude, each shared look ignited that familiar tension once more. The excitement of the hidden truth was only part of what drove us forward. Additionally, there was another aspect to consider. Something profound. Something genuine. Yet, it posed a significant risk. Olivia remained tied to Andrew, and her role within the company held immense significance for her. If the truth were to come to light, it could shatter her existence, her professional journey, and all the efforts she had poured into her aspirations. What about me? Well, I was simply an individual with a profession. A man with everything at stake if this were to be revealed. Yet, the attraction between us was unmistakable. She occupied my thoughts relentlessly, and I was certain she shared that sentiment. We found ways to steal moments whenever the opportunity arose. Brief, hushed exchanges during intermissions. Unintentional touches of fingers. Secretive looks exchanged. It simply fell short. The pressure was becoming unbearable. It was evident that it was beginning to affect Olivia as well. Then, one afternoon, it all nearly fell apart. As I toiled away into the late hours, wrapping up some reports, I caught a glimpse of her as she strolled by my office. She rushed past, but upon seeing me, she came to a halt. Our gazes intertwined. In that fleeting moment, we remained still, enveloped in a wordless connection that conveyed all our unspoken emotions. Tom. She spoke in a hushed tone. I would like to have a conversation with you. In that moment, I rose swiftly, my heart pounding with intensity. We were unable to converse in this place. A person could enter at any moment. Is everything all right? I inquired, making an effort to maintain a calm tone. She nodded, yet her eyes betrayed a deep sense of worry. She instructed me to meet her in the parking lot in 5 minutes. And then she vanished, slipping around the corner before I had a chance to say anything. I made the most of every moment. I slipped on my jacket, ensured my phone was powered down, and made my way to the parking lot. The space lay vacant, the atmosphere crisp and tranquil. Olivia stood by her car, her posture tight with tension. "What's happening?" I inquired, making an effort to mask the concern in my tone. She cast a swift look around, ensuring that no one was in sight, before moving closer to me. "Andrew raises suspicion," she murmured, her voice just a breath above silence. "He has been inquiring. He suspects that there's more to the situation than meets the eye." My stomach sank. "What type of inquiries?" "Only ambiguous matters. However, he has observed that I have changed recently. I find myself less engaged at home. I find myself losing focus at work. He's been urging me, and I'm uncertain how much longer I can sustain this. I can't bear the thought of losing him, Tom. I must preserve my marriage." Her words struck me with overwhelming force. The truth of the matter was beginning to resonate deeply. This was far more than a mere casual affair. Olivia found herself entangled in this chaos as well, and her stakes were much higher than mine. "I don't know what to do," she said, her voice trembling just a bit. This all took me by surprise. My intention was never to cause pain to anyone. Yet, at this moment, returning is not an option. I extended my hand, gently resting it on her shoulder. It was a subtle act, yet it seemed as though I was connecting with her on a deeper level, beyond mere physicality. "There's no need to make any decisions at this moment," I murmured gently. "Feel free to proceed at your own pace. We'll find a way. I'm here to stay." She raised her gaze to meet mine, her eyes probing for something deeper. Something lingered within them. A blend of trepidation, doubt, and desire. I wished to assure her that all would turn out well. That we might discover a path through this chaos as a team. Yet, I found myself unable to deceive her. We found ourselves deeply entangled, and escape seemed impossible without facing repercussions. "I'm not sure I can continue with this, Tom," she murmured. "I find myself in a state of inner conflict. I wish to avoid causing any pain to Andrew. Yet, I can no longer maintain the facade of indifference towards my true feelings for you." I pressed my hand softly on her shoulder, hoping to provide a bit of solace. "We will find a solution to this." I echoed the words, uncertain of how it came to be. We lingered in silence, gazing into one another's eyes, the burden of our hidden truth heavy between us. The air was thick with tension, yet there was an undercurrent of something more. Something more powerful. It was the truth of our actions. Understanding that our choices carry significant weight. And still, we found ourselves unable to halt. "I ought to take my leave." At last, she spoke, shattering the stillness. "I will find a solution to this, Tom. I'm in need of a little time." I nodded, yet just as she was about to depart, she cast a final glance in my direction. "Thank you," she murmured, "for your patience, for your understanding." And just like that, she vanished. I lingered in that spot for a moment after she departed, my thoughts swirling. This had evolved beyond a mere office entanglement. We found ourselves ensnared in this chaos, too intertwined to simply turn our backs. Olivia's marriage hung in the balance, and so did mine. Yet, despite my efforts to distance myself, I couldn't ignore the undeniable connection we shared. The tension was destined to escalate from this point onward, and the outcome remained uncertain. The days following that conversation in the parking lot seemed to stretch endlessly. Olivia seemed remote at the office, and I felt the same way. We were both aware that the current situation was unsustainable. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words, and I could read it in her gaze each time our paths intertwined. She found herself in a conflict, grappling with her emotions for me while remaining devoted to Andrew. It became evident that we could no longer continue down this path. Change was inevitable, and it was increasingly clear that Olivia faced a decision. her union, or I. One evening, while I was wrapping up some tasks late at the office, a text from Olivia came through. It was straightforward, merely a location and a moment. Join me at my place. 7 o'clock in the evening. My heart raced with excitement. I was completely in the dark about its significance, yet I sensed it was the pivotal moment. I had to face it at last. I snatched my jacket and exited the office, thoughts swirling in my head the whole time. Upon reaching her apartment, I noticed the door was slightly open. For a brief moment, I paused before rapping on the door. She opened the door without hesitation, her expression a blend of seriousness and gentleness. "Step inside," she invited, moving to the side. I entered, sensing the gravity of the moment pressing down on my heart. The atmosphere surrounding us was dense, as if it pulsed with all the unspoken words lingering in the silence. Olivia gestured for me to take a seat on the couch, and I complied, a wave of anxious energy surging within me. She positioned herself opposite me, her hands neatly clasped in her lap. Her eyes reflected a deep weariness, a lingering doubt. It was evident that she had been contemplating this for quite some time. "Tom," she started, her voice quivering just a bit. "I've been reflecting on it all. Concerning our story, reflecting on my journey, and delving into Andrew's narrative. The reality is, I can no longer maintain the facade that everything is fine. I've reached a point where I can no longer overlook my emotions." I took a deep breath, feeling uncertain about the direction this was heading. I wished to convey to her that I comprehended her feelings, and that no matter what choice she made, I would stand by her side. However, I was reluctant to apply any pressure on her. This was her choice, her journey. I've been working to understand it all. Olivia pressed on, her voice growing more powerful. However, the truth is, I've been feeling discontented for quite a while. Andrew is a decent person, yet my feelings for him have faded. I can no longer continue to live a falsehood. I've been wearing this facade, acting as if everything is okay when it truly isn't. It simply isn't just for either of us. My heart plummeted. This transcended our individual concerns. Olivia's marriage, her entire existence, was falling apart. She was finally acknowledging it. She acknowledged that her emotions for me had compelled her to face the reality of her marriage. "I understand this is challenging," she said, her voice heavy with feeling. "I understand that I've caused you pain. Yet, I find it increasingly difficult to continue in this matter. I can't continue living this way any longer. I desire to be by your side, Tom. I have come to a decision." For a brief moment, I found myself at a loss for words, my mind racing in countless directions. This was the moment I had long anticipated. Yet, it was entirely different from what I had anticipated. Olivia was expressing her desire to be with me in a way that felt profound. She expressed her readiness to sacrifice everything for our sake. "What is the significance of this, Olivia?" I inquired gently, my voice scarcely rising above a murmur. "What do you mean?" She inhaled deeply, her gaze locking onto mine, revealing a blend of trepidation and resolve. "I'm parting ways with Andrew," she stated plainly. "I'm finished. I have come to a decision. I refuse to allow him to dictate my life any longer. I have decided to resign from my position. Depart from the organization, and we shall embark on a fresh beginning. A place unfamiliar, a destination distant. I am prepared to be by your side, Tom. I'm prepared to make that jump." Thoughts whirled around in my head. This was more than a choice concerning just the two of us. Olivia was stepping away from all that was familiar to her. The solace of her union, her esteemed position, the entirety of her existence as she had crafted it. She was sacrificing everything to be with me. "I don't want you to look back on this with regret," I said, my voice quivering under the gravity of her proposal. "I won't," she replied, her voice resolute. "I've contemplated it for quite some time. I am certain of my desires, and you are part of them." Her words enveloped me, revealing the profound extent of her willingness to sacrifice. It was substantial, and I approached it with the utmost seriousness. In that instant, it dawned on me that I desired the very same thing. I desired her deeply, and I was prepared to battle for our love, regardless of the sacrifices required. "We'll find a way," I assured her, rising to my feet and making my way to her side. "We will find a way to make it happen, as a team." Olivia rose as well, and before either of us could utter another word, she moved into my embrace. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, a wave of tranquility washed over me. This decision was made collaboratively. We were selecting one another, and that was the only thing of significance. The following days passed in a haze. Olivia fulfilled her commitment. She revealed the truth to Andrew, and though it was a difficult discussion, it was essential. She walked away from her job, gathered her belongings, and began to envision a fresh start alongside me. I sold my apartment, wrapped up loose ends, and got ready to leave it all behind. We were embarking on a new journey, crafting a future uniquely ours. As I laid eyes on Olivia's suitcase, meticulously packed and poised for departure, a realization washed over me. This marked the beginning of an adventure uniquely ours, free from secrets and devoid of regrets. As we boarded that plane to embark on our new journey in a foreign land, I realized that despite all we had sacrificed, we had discovered something far more valuable than we could have ever imagined. At last, we had broken the chains that bound us.